This episode of ETC is brought to you by the 2016 Acura ILX. Catch it if you can at your nearest Acura dealer. Hey guys, welcome back to another news dump.
Sorry, we have to top ourselves every week.
That's true. So news dump's where we get out our news net and gather up all the dead news leaves that sank to the bottom of the news pool last week.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor, I guess.
Yeah.
Old school OG nerds rejoice because after 13 years of being off the air, the X-Files will be coming back to TV in the form of a self-contained 6-episode event series a la True Detective.
Yeah!
I am super excited for this.
So the X-Files originally aired for 9 seasons from 1993 to 2002 on Fox and was one of the first modern network TV shows to gain a cult following with sci-fi fans and also be successful enough to stay on the air.
Yeah, it followed FBI agents Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, who were assigned to work on cases that seemingly had no explanation. Their cases ran the gamut from aliens to government conspiracies to ghosts to monsters and so on, with Mulder being the more open-minded agent and Scully being ever the skeptic.
Yes. No matter how many crazy things happen in front of her.
You know what my favorite part
don't
about this is? She is way hotter now than she was in the 90s. She is a beautiful, what is it, 40-year-old?
She's like 45.
What a beautiful woman. She has aged gracefully.
Anyway, over the course of the show, many episodes were simply standalone police procedurals with what fans called a monster of the week, but there were many other episodes that formed a larger arc involving secret government organizations and aliens trying to colonize the Earth.
Yeah, by the end of the show's run, that larger arc became pretty damn complex and definitely inspired later shows like Lost that drip-fed viewers with pieces to a massive puzzle. Both David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson have since gone on to work on loads of other things, most notably Duchovny's Californication, which ran for 7 seasons and just ended last summer.
And Gillian Anderson hasn't had quite the same level of post-X-Files success as her co-star, though most recently she starred in BBC's The Fall and guest starred on Hannibal a bunch. And for a woman who's raising 3 kids, she's definitely held her own career-wise.
Yeah. And like we said, they both look great. A lot of time has passed since X-Files ended, but every time these two show up at a con or whatever, it's just so easy to picture them back in their drab FBI clothes solving insane crimes like no time has passed.
And they, and X-Files creator Chris Carter, have been pretty casually vocal for the last couple of years about being totally down for more X-Files at any time anybody asked them about it. So back in January, Fox pretty much confirmed that they were trying to make some sort of X-Files reunion happen.
Yeah, and now it's happening. There's no word on what those 6 episodes will be about, but we can imagine they'll be trying to walk the line to appeal old X-Files fans and also welcome new fans who aren't aware of the original show's convoluted universe.
Yeah, there was like a Reddit post I read recently that like broke down the entire like backstory of the show, and it was insane. Like I watched it when it aired, and I don't even remember half that shit.
Yeah. Do you think that these will be episodic? Like there'll be one storyline over 6 episodes, or will they be standalone?
I think it's gonna be one like storyline.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Single confirmed.
Anyway, if you want some place to start with the X-Files, comedian Kumail Nanjiani just wrote a list for Vanity Fair titled The 9 Episodes That Will Get You Hooked on the X-Files. And one of those episodes, season 6's Drive, happens to be where Vince Gilligan, who did a ton of work on the X-Files, met Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, there would be no Breaking Bad without the X-Files.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is like the first show that I got really hooked on. I had fucking VHSs of this show. I bought a bunch of books. Like they didn't have internet guides, so if I missed an episode, you were just fucked. And I mean, I've sort of fallen off the wagon the last like 10 years or so.
I'm definitely gonna go to look at Kumail's list. He also hosts a podcast.
Yeah, the X-Files
that analyzes the X-Files. So I'm gonna probably go back and watch those episodes because it's been so long. But yeah, I do remember sitting and watching the X-Files.
They had them all on Netflix until like a year ago.
Well, they were probably prepping for this. Anyway, speaking of TV shows with very rabid fan bases, we've talked a bit about Game of Thrones these last few dumps because season 5 is rapidly approaching. And last week we talked about how author George R.R. Martin was choosing to skip all of this year's cons so he can focus on writing the Game of Thrones books in a timely manner.
But unsurprisingly, he's not going to be able to finish and publish all the books in time for the show to finish. That doesn't mean the show is getting delayed, though. That means that the fans of the book, that doesn't mean the show is getting delayed, though. That means that fans of the books are going to have everything spoiled for them by the show.
Yeah. Executive producer David Benioff told the Oxford Union, "Luckily, we've been talking about this with George for a long time, ever since we saw this could happen. And we know where things are heading, and so we'll eventually basically meet up at pretty much the same place where George is going. There might be a few deviations along the route, but we're heading towards the same destination. I kind of wish that there were some things we didn't have to spoil, but we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. The show must go on, and that's what we're going to do."
So, George R.R. Martin obviously hasn't just been writing this whole thing by the seat of his pants. He knows the basic plot points of how this whole thing will end, and has for a while, and he's been pretty open about it with the people running the show, but obviously this does mean that a lot of the details in the ending of the show and the ending of the books will vary.
Yeah, not that they haven't already. Neither of us have read the books, but it's not hard to Google differences between Game of Thrones and the books and see that, like any adaptation, there's plenty of changes along the way.
Yeah, it's really hard to cram, like, 1,500 pages into
a TV
like
show.
10 hours. Anyway, to anyone who told us that we were being dicks about this whole thing last week, look, we're less concerned about him getting the books done as much as we're really intrigued by all this. Like, nothing like this
has really ever happened before,
simultaneous book and TV shows happening at the same time. It's very interesting. And once I finish the show, I'm gonna be pretty interested in going back to the beginning and reading all the books to see all the differences. So.
Yeah. Or just get a book on tape and drive across the country.
Yeah, I'll probably just do that.
Speaking of differences, though, let's move on to Batman v Superman. A major selling point for comic fans so far has been this movie's parallels to the Batman-Superman brawl at the end of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
The leaked Comic-Con footage from last summer had Batman in basically the same armored suit as the comic, but it looks like the circumstances of the showdown in the movie will have a lot of differences with the supposed source material.
At least according to Badass Digest Devin Faraci, who continues to block Elliot on Twitter.
Come on, Devin.
According to his intel, unlike the Dark Knight Returns, where Superman is basically sent by the US government to stop Batman from being so good at cleaning up the streets of Gotham, in BVS, Superman is sent to stop Batman because Lex Luthor told him to.
So let's let Devin do the talking. In Batman v Superman, Superman is no lackey of the government. If anything, many of the world's governments distrust the guy. But it is Superman who goes to Gotham and starts the confrontation, at the behest of Lex Luthor. And unlike the Dark Knight Returns, Superman comes out swinging, pulverizing the Batmobile with one punch. Why would Superman do Lex Luthor's bidding? What is Lex hoping to accomplish? Well, that would be spoiling. But know that when the fight is over, Batman will be able to point to Superman and say, he started it.
So if this info is right, we can pretty safely assume that Lex Luthor, as played by Jesse Eisenberg, is a master manipulator, which definitely falls in line with how he's portrayed in the comic.
Luthor's just a human, but he's a formidable opponent to Superman because he's smart as hell and has a fuckload of money and connections.
Yeah, kind of like Bruce Wayne. Step aside, Devin Faraci, because we're about to do some exclusive ETC theorizing.
Yeah, Latino Review can step aside as well. Yeah, get out of the way. So our exclusive, single confirmed theory about Batman v Superman is that Wayne Enterprises and LexCorp are huge business rivals in this movie, and that Luthor uses his big brain to figure out that his main business nemesis is actually Batman.
Yeah. Luthor puts on a goody two-shoes persona, makes friends with Superman, and then manipulates him into getting rid of Batman under the pretense of justice or some shit. But all he really wants is the CEO of his rival company dead or in prison.
I mean, there's no way our theory is original in any way. I'm pretty sure other people have thought of it. But we plan to take credit for it when it inevitably turns out to be true.
Yeah. Anyways, this dump has been pretty epic, but there's still videos that we watched that you should also watch, like this Lego version of Jurassic Park.
Now, these days, there's Lego versions of basically everything, but this one's pretty damn well done. YouTube channel Digital Wizards, with a Z, really went all out recreating a bunch of the iconic scenes in the movie, and lead filmmaker Paul Hollingsworth got his daughter involved in the whole process in a rare instance of my dad made me help him with this thing, actually making her probably pretty popular at school.
Yeah, and it looks good too, because they just announced that the game, the Lego Jurassic World game, I think so.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff coming out for that.
Yeah, anyway, this weekend is COD Champs here in LA.
Yeah.
We didn't get tickets, but we sent our insect correspondent, Roachy Roach, down to COD Champs to check it out.
What's it like, Roachy?
Oh, I think he's still dead.
Oh yeah, he's still dead. Fine.
Well.
Oh.
Anyway, that's our news dump for this week. Tune in tomorrow. We've got a very, very special episode of Ask Us Anything
with Danny Trejo.
Mr. Danny Trejo.
Yeah, check out the other content here. We have a new episode of Tugs, and then we're gonna put the season finale of AFK right here in the movie. So check that out. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye. Now wipe your butt.